Hi guys, welcome to my channel. I'm Vivian. If you're new here, I'm a robotics engineer with a love for all things beauty, makeup related. Currently I am babysitting my cousin's dog and he's like playing in the background, so if you hear that, I'm really sorry. But today's video, we're gonna do a little drugstore starter kit. Some of you guys may know that I first got into makeup about 2 years ago, and when I first started learning or first started getting into makeup, I would mostly buy products from the drugstore, seeing what I like, what I don't like, and this is kind of the best of what I've tried all put together, specifically curated for someone first getting into makeup. And since this is all drugstore, this is pretty affordable. And honestly, I truly believe that you don't need to spend luxury prices to get a really nice, flawless base and makeup look. If you're interested in this, please like and subscribe if you aren't already, and let's hop into it. Okay, so I'm just gonna clip my hair back and then we will get started. I'm also gonna be applying all of the products in this video so you can really see what everything looks like. Okay, so I'm gonna zoom you in. Okay, so the first thing we're gonna start off with is sunscreen. This technically isn't drugstore. I believe it's around $15 or $16. You can get it at Target and Ulta, and it's a really good affordable option with no white cast whatsoever. So, oh, I didn't even say what this was. This is the Black Girl Sunscreen moisturizing sunscreen lotion for face and body, SPF 30. So I'm gonna do the 2-finger method. So I'm just gonna take a little bit of time and blend this in. Don't forget the eyelids. For me especially, my eyelids and my forehead are much darker than the rest of my face. And this sunscreen spreads pretty thin, so if you saw me rub it down to my chest, I did because I had a lot, and 2 fingers might be a little bit too much for just your face and your neck. But see, once it's all rubbed in, there's really no white cast. You can barely even, you can't see it, and it leaves like a slightly tacky feeling when it's all rubbed in. Okay, so for foundation, first is the Undone Beauty Matte Tint. This is the Unfoundation Matte Tint. It's pretty light coverage, but I like this because it adds a slight mattification, which you don't really find in a tinted moisturizer type of product. So I do really like this. I also have the ColourPop Pretty Fresh Hyaluronic Acid Tinted Moisturizer, which is also nice, but it's not my absolute favorite, and I think I do prefer the Undone Beauty Foundation or Undone Beauty Skin Tint versus the ColourPop Tinted Moisturizer. I find that the ColourPop one can be a little bit too dewy and it doesn't really dry down very well, and so I find that it transfers a lot, but it's still a good option for a drugstore. So I'm going to go in with the Undone Beauty Unfoundation Matte Tint. This also has tea tree oil for blemish and oil control, and you can definitely smell it. So if you're sensitive to fragrances or essential oils, this might not be the best product for you, but I find that it works well for the effect that I want. Okay, so I'm going to blend this in with my fingers. You can see that it really doesn't cover up a lot, but it gives a slight tint, and it slightly blurs and mattifies. You can probably see this side compared to this side with the oils from the sunscreen. If you just look at the finish of it, this side definitely looks more matte, and I wouldn't say it's completely matte, but it definitely is mattifying compared to the sunscreen that we initially put on. And I have mine in the shade Soft Beige Medium, I believe. So even when I'm blending things in with my hands, I always like to go over it with a sponge. So this is the e.l.f. Camo Concealer Sponge. It's a little dirty right now, but we're just going to ignore that. And I'm just going to press over everything with the sponge to pick up any excess product. Okay, so for concealer, I actually have 3 different options here. They are these 3 right here. This first one is the Undone Beauty Conceal to Reveal palette. This palette is pretty cool because it has different opacities. So you have a light opacity, medium opacity, and full opacity. So you get the benefit of all 3 in one. If you want a more traditional doe foot applicator that's pretty full coverage, the e.l.f. Hydrating Camo Concealer is really nice for under your eyes. It can look a little cakey if you put on too much, but overall it's a very good, reliable concealer, and I believe it's like $6. And something that's a little bit newer to me is this NYX Bear With Me Concealer Serum. This one, I find that it looks really, really nice under my eyes, and it doesn't like look cakey, it doesn't look dry, it just has a very nice finish. I will say that this is, like I said, it's still pretty new to me, so I don't have my full thoughts on it yet, but for the couple times that I've used them, I've really liked the way it looked. Also, this applicator is like a nozzle, so you would squeeze it out onto like the back of your hand or something and tap it in, which is actually what I'm gonna do now. So I'm just gonna squeeze out a tiny bit. You really don't need that much product. And again, I'm gonna go in with my finger. So I just tapped a little bit, and I'm just gonna tap this out underneath my eye, and I'm gonna cover up any big blemishes that I feel like needs a little bit more help. Okay, now that I've blended that in a little bit, I'm going to go back in with my sponge and just go over those same areas just to make sure there's not excess product. I find that when there is excess product, that's when things start to look cakey. And so I just want to make sure there's a really cohesive look and nothing is going to break up on me, nothing is going to try and transfer, things of that nature. And for the shades of everything that I have, this Undone Beauty Conceal to Reveal palette, I have in the shade Soft Beige Medium. This NYX Serum Concealer, or Concealer Serum, is in the shade Beige. And this e.l.f. Hydrating Camo Concealer is in the shade Light Beige. Depending on if you want a cream or powder for your bronzer and blush, I have a couple options here as well. So these e.l.f. putty bronzers, I have mine in the shade Honey Drip. These are not the most long lasting. They do fade very quickly, so it's not my favorite, but this is the only cream drugstore bronzer that I've tried, so I don't mind it. I don't hate it. It's just not my favorite. Same with the putty blush formula. It's nice. I like the shine of it, as in there's no shine. It kind of dries down to a powder matte type of finish. Again, it's not my absolute favorite, but it's nice for the drugstore. As far as powder bronzer goes, I have this e.l.f. Primer Infused Bronzer in the shade Forever Sunkissed. This is super, super nice. This is such a good, affordable drugstore bronzer. When I want to do powder bronzer, I do reach for this quite often. The formula is really nice. It's really smooth. It goes on very nicely, and overall just really nice for like $6 or $7. couple blush options besides the e.l.f. Putty blush is this Essence the blush. This one is in the shade 20 Bespoke. This is probably my favorite drugstore blush. It just looks so good, so effortless. It's not the most pigmented, but you can build it up, and it just looks so good on the skin, and it's like $3. It's so affordable. For another blush option, this is the Milani Cheek Kiss blush in the shade Nude Kiss. This one is also very nice, but it's definitely more emollient than the e.l.f. Putty blush. This one, since it is so emollient, it kind of melts with your finger, and that can be a good thing or a bad thing depending on the type of finish you like. I will say it's pretty glowy, but it doesn't last very long. So depending on where you are, the longevity you want, this can be a really nice option, or it might not be the best option if you're trying to have a long lasting blush. In my opinion, if you really need your base and your makeup to stay all day, I would try to go for more powder type formulas. I know that some people like to layer cream and powder, so you'd put the cream on the bottom and then powder on top. That is what I'm gonna do today, just to kind of show you, but usually I'll do one or the other, not necessarily both. I'm actually gonna go in with the Putty bronzer brush that e.l.f. released, and I'm gonna really dip into that. I'm gonna start off at the cheekbones. Okay, and I know this looks like kind of a lot, but really it fades pretty quickly, and so I just want to make sure that the pigment stays there. As far as blush goes, I'm actually gonna go in with the Milani Cheek Kiss blush, and I'm gonna go in with this Spectrum Engaging Hues number 3 brush. This is just a dual fiber brush, so really anything could do. And I'm gonna go in and gonna start off by kind of stippling this product under the cheeks. And being that it is summer, I am a huge fan of the sunburnt blush look, and so I'm gonna bring the blush up pretty high, honestly. Now again, it might look a little intense for the time, but it really does fade pretty quickly. And I'm gonna go in with a pressed powder and then go in with the powder blush and powder bronzer on top. For powder, I'm gonna use the CoverGirl Clean Fresh powder. Mine is disgusting because it is pretty old and I'm basically trying to pan it. There's not a lot of powder left, so I do really like that. Another really good option is the e.l.f. Halo Glow setting powder. This is very pretty, and don't let the halo glow part of the name scare you. It's really not that glowy. It's much more of like a subtle glow. So I'm actually going to use the CoverGirl one, partly because it's in my project pan and I'm trying to finish it, and partly because I actually do really like this powder and I find that it gives a pretty good finish. So just a light dusting of powder. You really don't need to go super heavy-handed with it. For bronzer, I'm going to go in with the e.l.f. Primer Infused Bronzer. I'm going to take this big, kind of fluffier brush. This is the BH Cosmetics number 2 brush. Tap off the excess and just kind of go over lightly the bronzer area. Okay, and for blush, I'm going to use the Essence the blush, and I'm going to use this It Cosmetics, or It Brushes for Ulta Angled Cheek Brush, and I'm just going to... And kind of like I said before, this is kind of heavy on the blush, but especially during the summertime, I really like the heavy blush, sunburnt blush. vibes. So if this is not your forte, you definitely don't need to go in with 2 different blushes. That's a little bit excessive, but for me, I kind of like it, so I'm gonna do it. Okay, there are a lot of good drugstore lip products, specifically these lip liners. These lip liners from NYX. Personally, I think NYX makes the best drugstore lip liners. I have a ton here. This one is in the shade Nude Truffle. I have Natural. I have the Suede Matte Lip Liner in Sandstorm. And I have the lip liner in Peekaboo Neutral, which is supposedly a dupe for Charlotte Tilbury Pillow Talk, like the Pillow Talk lip liner, but I don't have that, so I cannot confirm. This formula is so nice and so creamy without being too creamy. It, like, once you put it on, it doesn't slip around, and so I really like these lip liners for every day. I use these more than my high-end lip liners. They're really just really good, honestly. My lips are pretty dry right now, so I'm just gonna go in with some lip balm. This is the Burt's Bees lip balm, just the original one, and I'm gonna let that do its thing, and also line my lips with this NYX lip liner in the shade Natural. Okay, so I'm really not going to do a lot with the lips. I typically don't, but if you want some good lipstick options, I have a couple here that I like. So this is the ColourPop Glowing Lip in the shade Let's Jet. Another formula that I really like are these Milani Matte Fetish lipsticks if you're looking for a matte option. This one is in the shade Tease. Let me swatch these for you. And this one is in the shade Secret. This one is Tease right here, and this is Secret. They're very nice formulas. They really don't move around. Secret is supposedly a dupe for Charlotte Tilbury Pillow Talk, which, let me swatch for you next to it. So I would say Pillow Talk is definitely a little bit darker, but the vibes are definitely there, so I can see why people say it's a dupe. I don't love that shade of pink on me, so I don't wear it that often, but the formula is nice, and if you find a shade that you really like, I highly recommend these. Okay, for an actual highlighter that's from the drugstore, I really like this one from Essence. My packaging broke, but this is the Essence the Pure Nude highlighter. This highlighter is very subtle. It's definitely not a highlighter that is going to be glittery. It kind of just gives you a very soft glow and like a glow from within type of vibe, which I personally very much enjoy. And honestly, when I apply this, I'm not too careful with it. I kind of just put it wherever, and I know that it's never gonna look like too crazy. The one thing I will say is that I hate that the packaging broke. It bugs me so much, but there's so much product in here still that I would feel wasteful if I threw it away just for new packaging, you know? But the formula itself is very nice. The packaging could use a little bit of work. Some lip gloss. So this first option here is the NYX This Is Juice Gloss in the shade Watermelon Sugar. It is clear. It's a clear gloss, but it smells like Hubba Bubba, like the watermelon Hubba Bubba, if you know what I'm talking about. It smells really, really nice. The smell of it is mainly why I like this. It leaves a very pretty glossy finish, but it's not the most long lasting. So if you need something that's super long lasting, I wouldn't go for this, but if you don't, this is a really, really pretty gloss. You can see the shine that it gave. It's just really pretty, and it smells so good. It's not sticky. It doesn't taste bad, but you can definitely smell that watermelon sugar scent. Another option, if you like a little bit of a glittery gloss, this is the ColourPop So Glassy Lip Gloss in the shade Epiphany. And it is this gloss with just a tiny bit of sparkle in it and a tiny bit of reflect that is just so pretty. So I really like this gloss too if you like more of a glittery effect on your lips. So for brows, I have two options here. This is the NYX Thick It Stick It Thickening Brow Mascara. It has kind of a big doe foot. This one is in the shade Espresso, but this really does hold your brows up. It is definitely more of a stronger hold type of brow gel, and you can really get the fluffy brow look with this one. So you can kind of see the difference between this brow and this brow. This one is definitely more lifted and kind of just more like shaped in general. If you don't want such a strong hold on your brows, but you want kind of a thicker brow, the e.l.f. Wow Brow is also really nice, and the e.l.f. Wow Brow has fibers in it, so it adds a little bit of volume to your brows. And if you've been here a while, you know that I, for some reason, really struggle with making my brows look even. I don't know why. I don't know what exactly happens. Maybe my brows just aren't even, and they never will be, and that's a-okay. But oftentimes one brow always looks darker than the other, and sometimes it be like that, and that's just gotta be okay. Okay, so I brushed out my brows just a little bit. Okay, and if you need a nice pencil that's super affordable, this is the e.l.f. Instant Lift Brow Pencil. I am so close to being done with this. This is in my project pan, and that is all the product I have left. That's rolled up completely, which is pretty exciting in my opinion. But I'm gonna use this just to lightly fill in any sparse areas. Okay, I don't currently have a clear brow gel that's from the drugstore, but I did really like the, I believe it's the e.l.f. Brow and Lash Mascara. It comes in like two clear things, which I'm almost pretty positive are actually the same on both sides. But that was really nice. But since I don't have a drugstore brow gel right now, I'm actually just going to use the one that I'm trying to finish up, which is the Benefit 24-Hour Brow Setter. For eye primer, I'm going to use the Milani eyeshadow primer. Lately, I haven't been using this. I've been using the Laura Mercier Caviar Eye Stick in Au Naturel because that's also in my project pan. But this is also a really nice base. Honestly though, for day-to-day, I usually just use my concealer and call it done. I really don't put in a lot of effort on my eyes and getting my eyeshadow to last because I really don't do much with eyeshadow. Most of it is pretty much the same from day to day. Okay, so I'm actually gonna go in with this e.l.f. Bite Size Quad in Cream and Sugar. So this doesn't really have a nice transition shade, so I'm actually gonna take my bronzer. This is again the e.l.f. Primer Infused Bronzer, and I'm going to just take a little bit on this brush and throw it in the crease. Just something really quick, just a little something in the crease just so we get a little bit of transition. So I'm actually going to take this darker shade here, this darker shimmer shade on my finger, and I'm just going to put this all over the lid. My everyday eyeshadow look is quite boring, if we're being completely honest, but I think that's okay. I don't think you need to have a super, super exciting eyeshadow look every day. Okay, so I'm going to take this Spectrum and Cajun Hues number 20 brush, and I'm going to go in with this lighter shade. And I'm just going to put this in the inner corner and just blend that out. Really does not need to be precise. I am usually not when it comes to eyeshadow. And then lastly, I'm going to take this darkest brown here, and I'm going to use this Katie Jane and Spectrum number 23 brush. I'm going to dip into this darkest brown shade, and I'm going to create a shadow wing with it. Something pretty small, just to have a tiny bit of something something. And that's pretty much it for eyeshadow. But if you are a liquid liner type of gal, which sometimes I am, sometimes I'm not, this Physicians Formula, the Eye Booster Waterproof Ultrafine Liquid Liner is really, really nice. It has a very, very thin nib, and it gives a really nice precise line, and it glides on very easily. So if you want a liquid liner option, this one is fantastic. Last but not least is mascara. I have one mascara here that is drugstore that I do like. For me, my drugstore preferences tend to be a little bit more expensive, high-end. I have really straight, really straight Asian eyelashes that don't hold a curl very well. So when I do buy mascara, I have to use a waterproof mascara to hold the curl. But I find that even though they're waterproof mascaras, they smudge on me, like right under here, no matter what mascara I use. So I've been leaning towards tubing mascaras that don't hold a curl as well, but they don't smudge. And when I am finished applying the mascara and once it dries, I will recurl my lashes, which I know a lot of people frown upon. I know that it can like potentially pull out your lashes, but that is just the way that I do it, so don't yell at me, okay? As for this video though, I'm going to use this Maybelline Sky High mascara. This is the waterproof version, and I'm going to curl my eyelashes, put on mascara, and I'll be back to show you the difference. So I typically do my bottom lash mascara with a tubing mascara, but since that's not the focus of this video, I'm just gonna omit that step for today. As for setting spray, we're almost done, I swear. This is the Milani Fruit Fetish Make It Last setting spray in the Dragon Fruit Peach scent. And I am just going to, and when you use setting spray, you typically want to try to avoid your mascara just to make sure it doesn't run or anything. Honestly, at this point, I couldn't care less. So, you know, we're just gonna do it anyway and hope for the best. Okay, but to really make it last, I'm gonna go back in with my powder and basically do a powder sandwich. And this is the final look. Let me know what you guys think. I stand by all of these products that I mentioned today, and I have really been obsessed with these. This e.l.f. Hydrating Camo Concealer, this is my second bottle. This is a repurchase. This CoverGirl Clean Fresh Powder, I literally have the tiniest amount of product yet. I've used up this entire thing. And yeah, overall, I just really like these products. And if you're looking for good drugstore products that won't break the bank, I really like the products that I mentioned today. Let me know what your favorite drugstore product is, what your favorite drugstore brand is in the comments down below. If you liked this video, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye!